I feel like I can speak for these game developers. Mapletree can't keep getting away with this. So this week we start a new event in Bofuri, and ultimately it's a 3-day in-game event where you collect some medals and you can exchange those medals for some rare items at the end of the day. Not that Maple, Sally, or any of them really need anything else to make them more OP, but the fact that you have this cave, this little cavern, which could go in any which direction. Is there a trap? Is this the real place to get some nice goodies? And the fact that this is probably the most accurate representation of Mapletree playing a video game. In the middle of what should be a life or death moment, swarms of monster hordes galore, they turn it into a tower defense game, where they have so many traps laid out that seemingly the monsters can't even get past the first wave of their traps. Imagine playing any tower defense game and you start off maxed out at the very first level. The monsters don't even have a chance, and to see them casually playing cards, as then when the explosions stop they go and collect the goodies, reset the traps, go back for another hand of poker. You gotta love these characters. They're absolute lunatics. How every episode we get to see the game developers, they either are freaking out or they're like, well, this is how we designed it, so I guess it's really on us and this is how we wanted it to be. But man, sometimes I feel for them because they're trying their best to make a balanced experience, and then they just look at what Mapletree is accomplishing and you're like, you know what? Maybe we should limit how many people can be in a guild, because these people are just too insane as it stands. But another great episode for sure. Now, I do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested in seeing my full uncut thoughts to today's wonderful Bofuri episode. So if interested, head on over there and consider supporting, because yeah, this was a fun episode. I think the best way to explain and sum up season 2 compared to season 1 is season 1 was kind of like the Maple experience. How is a girl who's not familiar with video games going to, in such an unorthodox way, break a game in a way that no one really expects? And with season 2, they seemingly are putting a lot more focus on Mapletree as a whole, and even outside that with some of the other side casts from other guilds. And I really like seeing it be more than just Maple being goofy and riding in an alligator's mouth. As much as I love those moments and I anticipate the next one, I love the fact that it does feel a lot more balanced with season 2 now that everyone's kind of on equal footing. Even though Maple will always be the most OP girl imaginable, I mean, we literally can see what these traps are doing to the monsters. The fact that she set them off and was engulfed by all those explosions and shook it off like she got hit by a fly, I mean, it really does say how extreme she is in comparison. But I love the fact that you can split these groups up into 2, and really it doesn't matter the formation, they're gonna get the job done. So the goal is to get 10 medals. If all of them survive by the end of the event, they get 5 medals, so that's already halfway done. By the end of this episode, we have 2, so basically we're up to 7 if they do survive the end of the event, of course. At the rate they're going, if they get 1 to 2 a day going forward, they absolutely have hit their quota. And it'll be interesting to see what type of items, weapons, or other goods that will obviously buff them in the future. But I like the fact that they split their teams up into 2, because medals are shared among the group, so they could have all went out at solo, try to get as many, but the fact that the first monsters that they spawn into are like these sand dragon-like creatures, yes, did they struggle to take them out? No, but in terms of a first monster, I mean, it's a pretty frightening first monster of an event, so rather than just going at it solo, split them apart into groups of 4 here. I really appreciate the fact that it does feel like no matter who's on whose team, you're gonna have a balanced party. You can look at what obviously Maple and Sally and them did initially. I mean, we literally there's so many combo moves that are just so ridiculous that I just love seeing it. The first one that they do, they basically avoid the monster trap, which they're kind of like in this lake, and you know, you have these like weird mud slime monsters. It's just some cool designs, a little creepy, a little goofy, and just syrup flying over, of course. And then they get teleported into the true area, and the thing was a honking beast. I mean, the thing was giant. And then you just have 2 cute girls slamming you with hammers as Maple and Sally are just kind of watching in the distance. And then it became the most interesting baseball anime as they are rapid firing, throwing fireballs and engulfing the thing into flames. It was a pretty creative design. I like the little moments where most shows that are trying to be like a video game, a VR, trap, transport video game, anime, whatever you want to call it, right? Usually it's just, oh, here's this giant flower area, so that's clearly where you'd go. But the fact that it teleports you to the actual area, and it's not as flashy, but it's a lot more suffocating. That these creatures, like, you can break them down till they're nothing but a puddle, but they just reform and they regenerate into multiple, right? It just feels like, once again, this is a show designed by someone who understands the ins and outs of game development, and I really like that. Or when it comes to the other side, the fact that they were fighting a shadow. So they pretty much get teleported, they come in contact with a tree, and I thought they were going to fight like a monkey ninja or something, but the fact that it was a shadow. So they ultimately had to like put up a barrier, and then they engulfed it with light and pinpointed the shadow, and then just swarmed it. Just, you can't tell me that this feels like, oh yeah, we always see this type of combat in video game anime. No, like it actually feels like from the game events, from the monsters that they fight, or just the way things break, whether intentionally or not, the fact that it just feels like this is a really thought out anime, and for a show that is just a slice of life of friends playing a video game, there's not this overarching story of we need to defeat the game in order to save a loved one, or this event is going to change the world. No, it's literally a video game. That's all it is, and that's what makes it honestly fun. It wears its heart on its sleeve. You're never gonna feel like, oh man, the characters are destined to die, or if we don't escape this level by X time, then, you know, our loved ones are gonna get kidnapped, right? I like those stories, but I mean, the charm of Bofuri is the fact that it feels like a video game through and through, and the bugs, the amazing content, the accidental content, all of it just is this harmony that just leaves a grin on your face. Like, as much as I meme they can't keep getting away with this or it's cheating, I love the fact that this show has a group of characters that after every episode the chat logs will play, and it usually is summed down to as, I heard rumblings about this crazy thing, and people are either A, gonna just assume it's Maple Tree, or 2, we should just stay away so we don't get consumed in the crossfire. Literally, just look at last week with the gator mouse. She was firing randomly. She could have killed an entire village if she just wanted to, right? It's just, the show is an absolute riot, and I love it. With just a few episodes left to go, I'm excited to see where they decide to end this season. It's been a different feeling season in comparison to season 1, even though a lot of it's very similar. Now that it's focusing more than just on the goofy shenanigans of Maple, the fact that it's the group playing the video game together being a lot more balanced now, I actually like what they're doing, and I'd be interested to see where season 3 would go in terms of would we just continue on this type of formula or would they try to branch off again. But either way, I mean, if they keep making the show, I'm probably going to keep watching it because there's not a lot like it, and it just hits that nice charm spot where you're not stressed, you're not overanalyzing everything, you're just appreciating where they focus their time and energy, which is on the game, positives and negatives of game development, and just having a great wholesome cast dynamic. I still think that Mimic, which is what I'm going to keep calling it, where it basically copies abilities, and just the fact that we had the triple hammer attack from our girls here because of it, I think that's literally the best pet. But I mean, when you can have a snake and you're riding on a snake and they subtitle the sound that it makes as just snake, I mean, how can you not laugh at some of the moments? And just sometimes the wide shots and the goofy faces. There's actually this one shot where like they're riding on their bears, and it's so like, it's poorly drawn, the facial details are out of whack, but it is hilarious, and I'm always a sucker for some goofy looking art that just leads to great comedy. But I love this episode. Let me know what you're thinking down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And of course, as I mentioned, we do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon, and while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Recursive, Teeny Bopper, Ricardo Pelego, and Steel Water. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.